Hello and welcome to this new episode to the Digital Nomad Mom Podcast. And today I'm very excited because I have a special guest with me. It's Christi Sparrow, and I met Christi just before the COVID-19 thing started, and the world was normal back then, and we were all in traveler mode. And she told me about her life, that they just started out traveling as a family, and how excited everything was. And yeah, and then the Corona crisis started. But in general, I'm very happy that you, Christi, have agreed to talk to me today, and I'm curious about everything, how everything has been so far for you. So let's talk about your story as if Corona doesn't exist, even though it does. But let's start a little bit earlier. And it's all about debunking the myth that the digital nomad lifestyle is only possible if you're singles. So you're also living proof that as a traveling family, you can also work on the side and live this beautiful lifestyle. So maybe let's start first by saying a little bit telling us a little bit about you and telling your story. Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me on your podcast. Congratulations on this new venture. It's really exciting. So thanks for the opportunity to see you again. I can't believe we only just met 3 or 4 months ago, and now the world resembles nothing, that it did back then. So, but it's great to keep in touch. So thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So, well, just for a quick, current state of affairs, we're in Perth, Australia, and we've been in Western Australia since late January. So that's kind of where we've been traveling within and hunkered down through most of this crisis, which I'm sure we'll get to. But a little bit about us. So I'm from Maryland in the US. My husband is British, he's English. And we met in 2005 and got married in 2006. And we've lived in San Antonio, Texas since then. So we call that town home. And I worked in management consulting for 10 years. And my husband led and grew a youth soccer club in San Antonio. And I helped out with that, kind of nights and weekends, doing some accounting and payroll and, kind of the back office non-soccer related things for that business. Right. And throughout most of that time, we were pretty diligent about just living off of one income. And I just mentioned that because that is part of kind of the story and how we got to being able to do a little bit of traveling that we're doing now. Our daughter was born in 2015, and then we sold the soccer business in 2017, and our son was born in 2018. So we had a quick succession of big life changes. And while the kids were young, we thought, well, it's not easy to travel with young kids, but we know it's doable. Let's give it a shot. And we had always wanted to travel, and we had talked about taking some time for an extended trip, 6 months to 2 years kind of time frame is what we wanted to do. And so we thought, well, while they're young, let's just go. Let's just do it. I was kind of on a break. After I went back to work, after having our daughter, I then decided to pivot and focus on motherhood for a while. So I was sort of in a break professionally. Jay found himself in a break professionally, and we thought, well, let's just go. And we'll come back and then pick up life. Yeah. So here we are.
So, and then before we met in January, we met during the Nomad Summit in Chiang Mai here in Thailand. And you went there, I suppose, and you also told me during our conversation there that you also wanted to see real life examples of people who are already doing it, and learn from other digital nomads who are living the lifestyle. And but before that, you've already started out, right? You've been on the road, or you had been a couple of months, was that?
Right. So we left San Antonio, Texas. Yeah, we left San Antonio in September of 2019. And then when we saw you, that was January of 2020. So we had barely been just a few months. Yeah. So we were still kind of new to it and still figuring a lot out and still are. But
because it's a learning process. So we were, always, I mean, I'm 9 years in and we're still trying to figure things out.
Yeah, crazy, right?
But what has been the first, I think the biggest learning that you have managed to learn since you started out? Can you share?
Yeah. Well, just like at home, I mean, I feel like a schedule, or at least a routine, not a strict schedule, of course, but like a routine of the order of the day and the order in which things happen, help the kids and help parents, and just kind of give us some sort of sense of being grounded and know kind of how to take control, keep control over things to, a little extent.
Yeah.
So I would say us being diligent about our schedule is very important, because traveling and working and childcare all wrapped into one, all the lines blur every minute of every day. And so unless we're really diligent about, okay, Monday morning, Christi's going to write a blog post. Tuesday morning, Jay is going to work on the website and some affiliate marketing, unless we're diligent about blocking out time and assigning like a parent to certain blocks of time to take over, just to kind of keep our sanity and get things done and feel productive, but then also scheduling the family days and the outings, and which have been curtailed now drastically, but still the family time, walks, neighborhood walks. We found it important to just be kind of crazy about our schedule. And every time we land in a new place, it takes a few days to get our bearings, of course, because you may have jet lag. You have to figure out where to find groceries. You have to figure out how to use new appliances, and where the kid's going to sleep and all these things. So of course we try to give ourselves some grace and all of that. But when we're in a place for a while, just schedule, and just being diligent too about expectations between like Jay and I, so that we know at what pace we're going to travel, like the household budget in each location. There's just a whole list of things that you normally deal with at home, but at home, there's many of those items are fixed or they're already figured out. So you don't have to worry about where to live or where to stay because you already have a home. But traveling, there's just a few extra layers. So yeah, just trying to be as organized and as, and as, what's the word? Coordinated, I guess, as possible with your partner, so that, you can pull it off or attempt to.
Absolutely, I 100% agree. I mean, even though it sounds boring, because most people try to escape the 9 to 5 routine and say I want to do something completely different, and then they start the digital nomad lifestyle and they see, oh, it's not that completely different. I mean, you still have to be disciplined. You still have to have a routine, like you say. Otherwise, it's not really gonna work for you. When I started, I traveled for a whole year, did nothing but traveling, and I thought in the beginning, after that first year, I could simply fit in my work schedules that then started, because then I picked up some online jobs, but it didn't work. I had to rethink, and then I had, okay, I'm now working, and if I have the time for some spare time, then I do the other things, the fun things. It's the other way around now. You have to really set your mind, otherwise it doesn't work.
Yeah, that's true. And it's exciting to be in new places. I mean, you want to kind of straddle that those two hats of like being a tourist, but also kind of living like a local, because if you're making a living or working remotely, you have to still find time for that. So yeah, it's definitely a learning process. Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit more about the remote working part, because you said, I mean, you started your website and you blog, I mean, about your travels, and your husband, he's also part of the team. I mean, you're the writer and he's tell a little bit about it. What is he doing?
Yes, sure. Yeah, so we launched our blog right when we left town. Jay had worked on building it a few months before we left, so we had kind of the skeletal website up and running, but we kind of launched with only a couple of blog posts when we left town last September. So Jay taught himself to build a website using Wix and Elementor, so he's been kind of, mastering that over the past several months. And then I've always enjoyed writing, and it had just been a while since I kind of dove into it and tackled it. So I've been writing blog posts mainly about traveling with kids, but as other topics or things like this pandemic pop up, just trying to write about relevant things, what we're going through, ideas for other families. And so Jay's working on kind of more the affiliate marketing and building the website and most of the social media, I would say. And then for me, it's the writing and the blog, and and then we balance all the childcare in between all that. So but yeah, as things grow, and as we decide to take different directions or focus on different components of that big pie, things shift. But yeah, it's been fun so far.
Sorry. And is your blog now already your main income stream? Is that?
No, it is not yet.
Okay,
So
that would be
we,
surprising. I mean, I was. It would be surprising because usually blogs I tend to take at least a year or up to five. I don't know. There's no
oh,
limit.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've made very little on the website so far. So we have savings that we're using from that we've kind of just saved up over the years. It was always just earmarked as like a travel bucket, and we also have a couple passive income streams in the U.S. And
Okay.
we rented our house out. That's one of them.
That's
So we
fun.
have a renter in our home who's taking care of our dogs.
Right.
So that's part of it. So yeah, we kind of have it pieced together. And the
Okay.
website is not yet a big piece of that income stream, but hopefully, one day it will be. It'd be great, if it does, of course. So we'll just
Good.
keep plugging away.
Just keep plugging.
Mhm.
Yeah. What would you say is one of the positive aspects of being a digital nomad family? Can you?
Well, in a nutshell, I mean, it's creating amazing family memories in new places. I mean, your kids are going to grow up no matter where you are, and you can make amazing memories everywhere. So it's not to say that you can't also have, and we will when we get home and settled next year sometime. But right now, we just figured, well, why not go see new places? Jay and I have always loved to travel. Maybe the kids can make some international friends and try some new foods along the way. So I think one of the positives is just exploring together as a family and just learning. I mean, Jay and I are learning as we're traveling, obviously. So we're all just in it together and learning together. Yeah, and it's neat to remember our kids' milestones taking place in certain cities or countries. Chloe had her 5th birthday in Chiang Mai, and
Yeah,
Camden just had his 2nd birthday here in Perth. And so, it's just fun for a while to be outside of our comfort zone. So,
right. And yeah, speaking of comfort zone, what would be an obstacle or obstacles that you say, or as opposed to travel alone or as a family? Uh,
yeah. Yeah, well, so the schedule is one of the things, again, just to reiterate that, because not only are you balancing normal things you would do anyway at home, but there's also all the layers of logistics like booking airfare or trains or negotiating Airbnbs or all those jobs that kind of look short on a to-do list, but when you dig into it, some of them take lots of research and time and days and things. And so just carving out the time to do what we say we're going to do, and work on our blog and have some quality
manage
family time in
time,
there.
I think. Yes, that's a big issue, or not an issue, but an obstacle perhaps,
Mm,
or a
mm-hmm.
challenge if you want to put it positively. But
Yeah, yeah, a challenge, right?
it's also exciting because if you're at home and you follow a certain routine, then some people get bored by their lives because it's always the same.
Mm,
They know Monday to Sunday it repeats, and so
mm,
yeah, that's what I like about this lifestyle, that you have it's in your hands. You can design your life every single day and you can reinvent it new. I mean, it really is so flexible. And
yeah,
of course there's also a lot of responsibility that it actually works out and it is nice for everyone, but yeah, I like it.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, you're a veteran, so
I'm veteran. Oh wow. I'm old.
Yeah. Of traveling full time.
Okay, cool. About traveling, do you have any? What happens after the world turns back to normal again? What is your plans? I mean,
For our family, yeah. So I mean, we had planned to be in New Zealand in April, which of course we decided just to cancel and stay put. And we've kind of really we've done all the social distancing and abided by all the rules here in Australia. And Australia's done such a terrific job of flattening their curve, and Western Australia is just doing amazingly right now. So
hmm,
regional borders here are still shut down, but we're thinking and seeing on the news in a couple of weeks within Western Australia, the state of Western Australia, things may open up. So we have applied for longer term visas to stay in Australia. So pending the outcome of those applications, we might just stay here through, August, maybe July. We're not sure. I mean, really for us right now, it's just thinking through options and trying to figure out a plan A, plan B, plan C, so that if things, as things are changing and evolving and shifting, we can pivot and decide what now is best to do, or maybe, so yeah, so I think we'll probably stay in Australia for a while if we can legally. And then we've even heard talk on the news of Australia and New Zealand forming like a travel bubble, because both countries have done very well at kind of lowering their case amounts. Anyway,
Right.
flattening their curves. And so
Be able
both the government,
to
sorry?
So you might be able to hop over to New Zealand. Oh, that would be nice.
Yeah, we might. If they create this closed travel bubble between two countries, we might still be able to do that. But of course, we'll have to see if it makes sense and budget wise and everything. So, but after this area of the world, we had plans to go back to the United States and do some traveling within the U.S. before returning home sometime before Christmas. I'm not sure, but before the COVID-19 crisis hit, Jay and I were talking about extending our traveling for a few months into 2021. So depending on a whole host of, factors, as you know, we may or may not decide to continue, but we'll see.
Yeah, no one
So,
really can make plans right now. We all have to
yeah,
see how this all develops. It's so weird. It's such a unique situation, and
it
yes,
is.
we have to make the most out of it. I mean, best
Yeah. I
decisions.
mean, yeah, some days my brain kind of explodes. Like before Jay just took the kids for a walk, we were talking about what to make for lunch. So
Yeah,
there's this kind of planning that we do every day. And then there's the bigger planning of like, where's the safest place for our family? Or, is it safe to fly yet? Or, our airport's chaotic, our flight's even happening. So one day at a time, I guess.
no, I know, crazy. Well,
Mm.
if you talk to any aspiring digital nomad family right now, what would be your best advice for them?
Yeah.
Like again,
So
in a normal world of traveling.
yeah, in the normal world. So I thought about this before we talked, because there are so many factors. Again, I kind of sound like I'm repeating myself, but just because it's a partnership and because you've got the kiddos as well, it's not as easy as you can imagine, as because you did it before kids and now after kids, of like picking up and going and being mobile and like really super flexible. So I have a list of like several things that just to think about and to talk about expectations. Like, and of course you can't plan for what you don't know, but just to have the conversations before you leave home with your partner or spouse about, who's going to be working, who's going to do more childcare, is it going to be split, kind of the budget, just the overall, so that when you get in a situation and you're in a foreign country, you at least have those foundational conversations to fall back on as like a guide. So schedule, work, childcare, schooling, and education. So our kids are still young, and so kind of the outdoor play, the free form play, numbers, shapes, letters, kind of we're
Exactly.
able to fit that into our days fairly easily. I can't speak to what sort of options are available yet for traveling families of elementary, middle, high schoolers, because I've not done it as a mom. But just to talk about it as a family and have a plan, household budget, personal needs. So like Jay and I are both runners, and we've tried to make a conscious effort of giving each other 3 mornings a week of an hour to go run. Just run, walk, stretch, yoga, whatever. Just go, have an hour to be active. And we walk with the family too, but to kind of get real runs in, you kind of have to do that on your own. So personal needs, and then pace of travel. Because like I mentioned, with kids,
Mm,
you don't want to travel at breakneck speed. At least we don't, because we kind of feel like, what's the point if we're always rushing around? So we like to just sort of
yeah.
be for a little while.
Go into snail mode. I see.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
Uh,
it's a thing.
if, uh, if at all. Like, to be honest, during this crisis,
Yeah.
I have to admit that I appreciated also being forced to be put for some time. Yeah, really, because I feel like it's so good also to not having to plan every 3 months when your visa runs out. Usually you're on a
Mm.
visa for 3 months and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Mm-hmm.
the first month you get somewhere, you have to figure things out. The second month you adjust and you finally, feel like, oh yeah, you have arrived. And
You
then the third,
improve.
you're already in your head, you're already gone again, and you're planning your next destination. And it
Mhm.
is, it can be really stressful, especially with
Yeah.
kids. So I'm actually really happy about this situation right now, only of course, in regards to our travel situation. So we have
Yeah.
been since January, been here on Koh Phangan and enjoying the island vibe and the beautiful island here. So very grateful to being stuck here. Then as
Yeah.
opposed to
Do you
any
plan?
yes.
Yeah. And so do you plan to stay there for, the foreseeable future, or what is your next plan?
So far we're not allowed to fly yet. So our flights are now postponed. We just changed them because we were supposed to fly yesterday, and
Oh,
of course we thought we simply pick a date, and that's the 15th of June. And it's also so random. Who knows if on that date we are able to fly? But
yeah.
it sounds okay. Middle of June, there might be something. The world might be back to normal again, and
Yeah.
we're heading back to Germany, or not back, but we're heading to Germany, just because the grandparents are highly being missed now. And I
Yes.
also, yes, I think it's time. I mean, we haven't seen them now for such a long time, and I think
Yeah.
it's a good place to go. And hopefully, in June or July, uh, we can fly actually. We'll see.
Yes, I hear you. I know we have leveraged FaceTime like never before. I mean, we've been traveling since September, and maybe once a week we'd FaceTime with Grandpa,
Yeah,
and maybe less than that, Jay's parents over in England. But yeah, so much more frequently. I mean, we're still just as physically far as we've ever been, but because the world has shifted so much,
yeah.
it just, we just crave that FaceTime and to be able to see them and then watch the kids. So yeah, thank goodness
It's a
for
different type of
those two.
reconnecting with your family back home, right? In times of crisis, everyone always wants to be close to a
Yeah.
family, and we've noticed too. I mean, we've been keeping touch a lot more now since we know something is wrong in the world
Yeah.
than before. But yeah. I have one last question before we're wrapping up here.
Yeah.
What does your perfect day look like? I mean, you have already described it a little bit, but if you can describe from morning to evening, what is the perfect day for you?
Yeah. So I was talking about this just came up with Jay recently, which is so funny that you're asking this because I was thinking about Camden's birthday and about the milestones that we're going through and about being away from home versus having the comforts of home around us.
Mhm.
And I thought about what makes me the happiest throughout a day, me personally, and it's having little components of kind of each of the categories that I've mentioned to you before. So it's like a little bit of exercise or physical activity, getting out in nature for sure in some capacity, just for some fresh air,
Yeah.
like healthy food, quality family time, and then when the kids go to bed at night, some one-on-one time for me and Jay to actually have a conversation and make eye contact for the first time in the day,
So true.
And what, yeah, it like waits till 8 o'clock at night. And what struck me about that is that I can have all of those elements wherever I am in the world for the most part. I mean, different degrees of it or different amounts of time for each, but traveling with the family, as long as we're together and healthy, I
Hmm.
mean, that's kind of
Yeah.
pretty close to a perfect day. And we could be home doing nothing, or we could be traveling out hiking or doing something extraordinary or not. And also like pre-COVID-19 versus post-COVID-19. I mean, I still find myself, finding joy in just having the healthy kids and, food in
Yeah.
our fridge and all these things. So, yeah, a perfect day is just us enjoying each other's company. And then hopefully Jay and I getting some work done, of course, being productive, feeling like we've worked that other part of our brain. Um,
Perfect.
so,
Yeah,
yeah.
perfect answer. I love it. Yes, and 100% agree with you. I mean, it's you appreciate things so much more when when you're forced to see them now in a different light. And yes, I agree. If everything goes normal, then this is already a perfect perfect day for
Yeah,
us.
exactly. That's true. Right. Yeah.
It was so good talking to you. Thanks for being on the show.
Of course. Thank you for the invite. It was fun.
It was fun. Where can people reach you if they want to?
Right. So our website is the Puddles and Passports family. So the website is puddlesandpassports.com. And we just launched a YouTube channel So we have some just fun videos of what we're doing, where we are, and some informational videos about the places we've been and what we've done with young kids.
Cool.
And that's Puddles and Passports on YouTube, and then Instagram, Pinterest, and Facebook, Puddles and Passports, anywhere you want to look. So yeah, thank you.
You guys, thanks for listening and watching. Check Christi's and Jay's journey out. It's really fun to follow those guys, and I hope you learned something, and I hope you get inspired, and maybe if you're still thinking about it, you take it and as a as an inspiration and try it out one day at least. I'd say everyone should try it out one day, the travel lifestyle, if they're thinking about it. I mean, it's not for everyone, but at least if you're contemplating it, it's worth trying it out. Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, have a wonderful weekend, everyone. And Christi, speak soon. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you, Julia. Sure. Look forward to keeping in touch. Say hi to your boys.
I will say hi to Jay. Bye.